there, Shawna Karrasch here, coming to you from Chicago, Illinois, and I have a question from Max, and this is, here we go. It says, I have a low energy, low spirit level, calm horse who's very hard to motivate to go forward, either in groundwork or ridden work in an arena. He's a fantastic trail horse, and by using the opportunity to eat grass as reinforcement, we can do great work out on the trail. But he is generally way more motivated in that environment. I can have walk to canter transitioned easily from a smooch. We can maintain canter, and it is calm, and he has go and whoa pretty much equal on the trail. But in the winter, and so that I can do physio exercises with him over poles, I need to get better at motivating him to go forward with energy and enthusiasm in a small arena. I already have a bridge well established, good. Bridge signal, for those of you who don't know what that is. And the clicker is a bridge signal, so good, Max. So I have the bridge well established. I have him able to follow a target, which he will do in a walk, but getting more than a walk without using negative reinforcement is very challenging, and having trot be forward and biomechanically healthy even more so. I can see how higher spirited level horses like to go. The mere act of being allowed to go forward is reinforcing. I find that my lower spirit level, low energy, confident horse finds being asked to go forward in the arena more of a punishing exercise and seems hard to overcome using positive reinforcement. I can even go in there with an entire bucket of feed and call him over to me from the opposite end of the arena, and he will do that at a walk, maybe breaking it to a trot. He is very food motivated, but more motivated by standing still. What can I do differently that would help him get enthusiastic about maintaining a good trot and canter, either on the lunge or ridden in an arena without using pressure? Okay, so that's a really good question, and not an uncommon problem. I actually have a lot of people who have problems with their upward transitions, but they don't usually have it as good on the trail. Or if they do on the trail, it's a nervous thing out on the trail. You know, it's different. They're like, wow, anything. You know, it's not like, oh, I'm just happier out here than there. It's, you know, it's kind of a different mindset. So what I would look for is, I recommend asking for. One of the things I found has helped me with this, I like to do it at liberty first, you know, and just on the ground. And you're going to have to be a little bit stickier about, I think you're going to have to be a little bit more, that isn't good enough, I'm going to try and come back later. So you're going to kind of have to shape that to the slightest bit more energy. I mean, this is what I'm thinking, because you got to tinker with this. Isn't one of those things that you can go, this is the recipe, but this is what I've had the most success with. Is so I would work him right before mealtime, so maybe you'll have the most reinforcement, the most desire for food, so maybe you'll have a little bit more excitement. I would also perhaps do him after he's been standing quietly for a while, so maybe it's before he goes out and has had some exercise. You know, it's on, you know, maybe even I don't know if he lives in or out, but let's say he lives in a stall, then I would just do it before you do turnout, maybe before a meal. Or if he lives outside, I might bring him into a place or a smaller place where there's not as much movement, you know, so it is kind of like creating him to stand for a while, or if he's comfortable in a stall, put him in a stall for just a little while, so he kind of is feeling like, boy, I sure like to do something. So if you can use any of those things to help set him up for success, it will definitely help. But that's going to take you knowing him, or, you know, as the weather gets colder, might find a little bit more energy, or if you have a cooler morning versus, you know, whatever might help him to set him up for success, or he's better with a certain horse in the arena. Well, then you got him at liberty, so that's a little trickier, but you know, whatever it could be that sets him up for success. Or if he's better in this area than this area, you know, try and think of those things. Okay, so one of the tools that I've used that has worked really good for this is, what I'll do is I'll start walking at a walk that is really slow. I mean, so slow that's almost painfully slow. It's, you know, like, it's very halting. You know, you're just like, walk, walk. And they just want to walk at a normal pace, because it's harder for them to go that slow. You know, like, I don't know what we're doing. Can't we just walk? And then what I'll do is, after we've gone like that for a little bit, like, you know, maybe a few strides, and then I'll break to a faster walk. And a lot of times with that, they're a little relieved, and they'll make a bigger movement towards that upward transition. So it's not everywhere we want to be yet, but what we're trying to do is get an upward transition. If we can click and feed, bridge and feed, any upward transition, we're going to start to get a better association with the upward transition, however it could be that we get that. So that's where I'd start to do it. So get a few of those that you're walking really slow, really slow, really slow. Break, and you walk to a faster walk and start clicking that adjustment upward, And pretty soon he's going to start going, and I would kind of, as much as you can, because it sounds like he's pretty solid on other things. So it's not like, sometimes we start with this with somebody and they'll think that's what we want to do. I say, okay, well, let's get to it. And then you go, oh, but we don't have whoa, or we don't have, we don't have walking correctly. We don't have this. So it sounds like, so you'll have to kind of make sure he's good about the whole going with you part, but I think it sounds like he is, and you have worked with him a bit. But so once we're good, I just get right to it. So in those situations, I want pretty much all of the bridges in that session to come on an upward transition. So he starts thinking, what keeps earning me my reward? Oh, it's every time I go forward. So he starts thinking forward. You want him almost anticipating forward, so you want him going, I just want to go forward. Can we stop with this little slow walk? And as you get that where you feel like he's ready to go a little bit more, then I would work up to the trot. But it may take a little repetition till you get him walking with you pretty consistently in that adjustment and in that adjustment. And maybe even from one of those slow ones, when you feel it's getting better and better and better, go from really slow to trot, so that maybe he'll break into that with you. So you're going to have to see what you can do to help him with that sort of thing. Following the target may also help. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's just like, no, I just go at this pace. But sometimes if they're following the target, they forget, they takes it out of the context of work, this thing that's been you've been trying to get for so long, where they're thinking, well, this is just how I do this. So sometimes that can shift it a little bit. Even if you have another horse that you can be led in front of him. So maybe you have somebody lead a horse and you have him with you, and you can do this on or off of a halter and lead rope or a headstall and lead rope, depending on how he is. If he's a type that's going to go play with the other horse, then that's one thing, but then maybe have it on halter and lead rope. But as you trot, have the other person trot too. And sometimes horses will fall in line with that and want to trot because they're trotting. So following may help a little bit. So you're going to have to tinker around with those little things. But in the worst case scenario, so that's how I like to do it. And figure out, if there's a place he does know how to go forward and does it, or even using it on the trail where you go back and just on the trail, what you reinforce it. Go out with the intention briefly of working on upward transition. Everything happens for an upward transition, even a small upward transition. So he starts getting the reinforcement history where he does do it in a good environment, and then taking it back to, so maybe that's under saddle in that situation because you're on the trail. Not many people have liberty on the trail, but you could even do it in hand on the trail if he's better. Just go out part way on the trail and just work on the upward transition, the walk to trot, the walk to trot, the walk to trot, reinforcing all those, and then go back in the arena. So kind of just building up the reinforcement history with the concept of it, and then take it back to that environment. But breaking it down, those little tiny steps, and make it super reinforcing. So another thing people want to do, they want to repeat it, repeat it, repeat it, repeat it. I wouldn't. I would have them do it a couple times and big giant, magnitude reinforcement or jackpot, so that he starts getting the idea like, wow, I just had to do that and I get all of this. That was pretty easy. That was worth it. So I think that if you really step up that rate of reinforcement and the